Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. I hope you're all doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you for being with me here today. Today, really excited to share with you my thoughts on Analogue Productions as part of the Atlantic 75 series that they are doing. Their latest release of Yes, Fragile. Super excited to share that with you and give you my thoughts on it. We'll be comparing that to an original 1972 release. It was released initially in 1971 in the UK, but here in the US, it was released in 1972. So we'll be comparing it to the original pressing here from the US, as well as I believe a 1986, a 1986 compact disc that we'll be comparing it to, and then of course we'll be comparing it to the Mobile Fidelity one-step version of the album as well. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started. But as always, first, if you like what you see, please go ahead and subscribe. But most importantly to me, please leave your comments in the comment section below. I love hearing from you. Thank you so much for doing that. It's so fun to correspond back and forth with you. Thank you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's go ahead and get started with Yes, Fragile. Just a quick little info on the album that was released in the UK in 1971 and in the US in 1972. Tony Kaye had just left the band prior to this album. And so they brought on to replace Tony Kaye, Rick Wakeman. And I really think that was, and Tony Kaye is great. The previous three albums were absolutely fantastic. This is their fourth album that they did. But boy, bringing Rick Wakeman on, I think really added a dimension to the group. His experience with the Moog synthesizer, electric piano, and a myriad of other keyboard type of instruments was really huge for Yes. And in particular on this album. And as we get going through this, we'll talk a little bit about that because some of the keyboards in this album are simply stunning, just unbelievable. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look and see what Analogue Productions, as part of the Atlantic 75, has done with this great release. Of course, we know Kevin Gray did the remastering on this and cut the lacquers. It's printed at QRP for Analogue Productions, and we know that they do a really good job. And I've kind of talked a lot about this as I do these reviews. I really talk a lot about the quietness of the vinyl, which to me is a hallmark of what they're doing. And I think a lot of the new pressings that we're getting, in particular the audiophile pressings that we're currently getting, and Analogue Productions has found a way to do it quite well. These albums have a really low noise floor, and they're super quiet, which I think is absolutely incredible. Let's go ahead and take a look at the album cover that we have here. We'll take a look at the vinyl here in a second. One thing for sure that we have noticed in the past, well, just with the Atlantic 75 series that Analogue Productions is doing, it's a Stoughton tip-on gatefold type jacket, which most all of them are. They're just fantastic, true to the original, and in this case, probably a little bit better. Blues seem to be a little bit more blue, and the colors just seem to be a little bit more bright on this as we compare that to the original 1972 release. As indicated, it is a gatefold. Let me see if I can get that open so that you can see it and take a peek at that. I think it's really very incredibly awesome what they've done. It looks just like the original. Of course, here's the back cover. My number is 1414 on the back. And of course, as we all know, we get inside the album, we get a flyer that kind of advertises a lot of their upcoming albums, or the ones that are actually in print and are available today. Can't wait for Katie Light, by the way. Little advertisement right there. We're going to be doing a full shootout on that. And then, of course, they give you this information on the Atlantic 75 series that they are doing, which I think is super, super neat. And then this is in the original pressing as well. This really colorful little, I don't know what you want to call it, booklet. I don't know if I'll be able to show you all those pages without getting a whole lot of glare, which I think is really, really cool. The Mobile Fidelity One Step also has this, but it's really on different paper and a little bit different presentation. It's not glossy like this one is. I like this a lot. This is really an excellent touch. Let's just take a look at quickly one of the albums. I'll share that with you. Of course, they're 180 gram, pressed at QRP. Here is side 1. Hope you can see that without the light glaring and making terrible. They're just really do a great job. QRP does a great job of pressing them. Like I said, the vinyl is unbelievably quiet, at least from my perspective it is. It's amazing how well they sound. I think Kevin Gray and the other engineers that Analogue Productions is doing an outstanding job. I haven't been disappointed in any of the albums that I have purchased from Analogue Productions as part of the Atlantic 75. And that goes to as well for the SACDs. I did a video on SACDs just a little while ago, and I tell you what, their work on the digital side is excellent as well. We'll be getting the SACD of this album when it's released, and we'll be kind of revisiting this review again and talking about that when that happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about sound quality on the Atlantic 75 Analogue Productions version of this album. And then once we talk about that and give this a quick review, and I'm not going to talk about every track on the album, we're just going to talk about some specific ones, and then there'll be some specific ones of those that we pick to compare with the original pressing, the compact disc, and the mobile fidelity one step when we get to that point. But let's go ahead and talk about sound quality. Okay, let's go ahead and start on side 1, Analogue Productions, Yes, Fragile. On side 1, probably the most prominent, most popular song on the album is Roundabout, and that's the very first track on side 1 of album 1. My thoughts on this album was absolutely stunning, very open, very detailed, excellent bottom end and detail, and it also has proper weight and it's balanced. And when I say balanced, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit more when we get into the comparison, but it is really balanced well. It sounds natural. It sounds like it was meant to be, heard. I really think this is probably, and I don't know this, but I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking this is really a true to pressing of what's on those analog tapes, which I think is really incredible. It just sounds stunning. Going to run over to side 2, and we talk about the first song on side 2. We Have Heaven. This is an awesome track. The footsteps at the very end of this song, if you've heard it, are simply stunning. They just sound great. I mean, he's just kind of walking out of the room, shuts the door. It's great. You just got to hear it. The song is awesome. It's not very long, it's short, but it's a great, great song. Absolutely wonderful as far as imaging is concerned. In fact, the entire album imaging is well beyond the side speakers. It's incredible. It really is incredible. Song 2, South Side of the Sky. Very, very clean with gobs of detail on this. The piano is absolutely excellent with excellent dynamics from top to bottom. Drums are superb. They really have proper and balanced weight. And here again, that's just kind of another little footnote that we'll talk about a little bit more as we get going. Rolling over to side 3, 5% of Nothing, just a quick little fun song with absolute neat percussion and awesome playing. But I tell you what, the imaging once again is excellent on this version of this song. It just sounds absolutely stunning. On side 3, second song in, Long Distance Runaround. This has always probably been my favorite song on the album. I absolutely, and it's a popular one too. It really is. But this has probably been my most favorite song. I just love Long Distance Runaround. Excellent definition from top to bottom. Excellent balance on all the instruments, in particular the vocals. Vocals absolutely sound stunning on this one. Bass guitar has excellent weight, and it's very easy to pick out, and it's very well defined. You can actually, it provides a really good foundation for the song. Really, really neat song. Okay, moving over to side 4, Mood for a Day. Excellent, excuse me, we're still on side 3, song 4, Mood for a Day. Excellent sound on the acoustic guitar. And this is actually one of the songs that we'll do a little bit, we'll talk a little bit about as we do the comparison. Excellent, just well-defined, clean sounding guitar work. It just sounds absolutely stunning on the Analogue Productions version of this. Incredible. Detail is in gobs. It's a great, if you're one of those people that like to hear excellent detail on acoustic guitar or just an instrument, this is a great song to take a peek and listen to your system, in particular for the mid-range on up. It just sounds absolutely stunning. Now going over to side 4, the only song on the album is Heart of the Sunrise. And I've always thought a lot of this song. Heart of the Sunrise has always been a fun song to listen to, but I've really not had the appreciation for this song until I heard it on this version. I'm not kidding you when I talk balance, and I hope you don't think that's just a cliche, but when I talk balance from top to bottom, that means everything is just absolutely properly, in my mind, sounding perfect, really from the upper frequencies to the bottom frequency. Nothing is overemphasized, nothing is too bright, nothing is too boomy on the bottom end. There's nothing, it doesn't sound chesty. It sounds open. It sounds extended, imaging. It sounds right. And I don't know if that's really a good way to describe it, but that's really kind of what I think of when I listen to it. It just sounds right. Never had the appreciation for this song until hearing it on the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 release. It is absolutely wonderful. This is a song, it's the entire side 4 of the album. You really might want to listen to that song if you pick up the album and just listen to that on your system. To me, it just sounds absolutely stunning. I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful it sounds. So Heart of the Sunrise is probably going to be my new favorite song on this album. It just sounds simply stunning. Please vet it out. Please listen to it. Let me know what your thoughts are. It's an incredible sounding. In fact, that's going to be the first song that we talk about as we start the comparison with these two albums. I would have to say overall, just in a quick assessment of my listening to the Atlantic 75 Analogue Productions version of Yes Fragile, it's absolutely wonderful. $60 is a really excellent price point for the quality of sound that we're getting. Kevin Gray and the folks at Analogue Productions, I think, are doing a great job. This is yet another example of a fine release. Let's go ahead and compare this album to an original 1972 US pressing, I believe a 1985 compact disc, 1986. I'll find out for sure. And then, of course, the mobile fidelity one step. Let's go ahead and compare them. Okay, in comparing the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 version of Yes Fragile with the original 1972 pressing, a compact disc, and the mobile fidelity one step, the system that I'm using is my only system that I have, is my VPI Prime 21 turntable with a Hana ML moving coil cartridge going right through Teralab's Axiom cables right into my Classe A CP50 preamp with Phono stage, and then balanced interconnects over to the Classe CA 150 power amp, and then from there through Kimber cable 8TC speaker cables to the Wilson, the Watt Puppies. And that's the evaluation system that I'm using for this comparison and for the evaluation of this album. And really, let me maybe before, I'm going to compare this album to the 1972 release first, but really let me kind of compare the 1972 release to the compact disc, because in some cases they are somewhat similar to each other. The compact disc being a little brighter on some material. And in some material, and some of the songs on Yes, Fragile, that little brighter, at least on my system and through my ears, actually works a little bit better. There was a few songs in particular, Long Distance Runabout and We Have Heaven, that I actually preferred a little bit more the compact disc over the vinyl, the original vinyl pressing. Overall, I would probably, if I was to pick between the two and pull out one of them to listen to, I'd probably pull out the vinyl because it just has a little bit more natural sound, even though the top end might be a little bit cropped in comparison to the compact disc. I still like the overall presentation of the vinyl. Now, how does that compare to the the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 version? Well, and so for some of you that might be as old as I am, if you remember cassette tape decks, and do you remember the Dolby B switch on those cassette tape decks? I remember having a Technics, and I can't remember the model number, and even on the Teac cassette deck that I currently have that has Dolby B and C, I remember when I would record a tape and use Dolby B, and then of course using Dolby B to play it back, it just seemed like the top end of whatever it was that I was recording was kind of muffled a little bit, kind of reduced. Of course, it took away the noise, but also took away a little bit of that top end. Well, to be honest with you, that's how this sounds in comparison to the Analogue Productions version. It's just like the top end's been kind of clipped. And that's really the biggest difference that you hear initially and immediately. It really is different when you hear the two in comparison, one after another. Now, none of this is blind. I know what I'm listening to when I'm listening to them, but boy, I tell you what, it's very, very noticeable. It's very obvious, and it's very immediate. That top end is what you notice first, is really not quite as extended as it is on the Analogue Productions version. And really, when you get listening to it critically, the original pressing as well as CD, top to bottom extension is just kind of clipped, if you will. It's just not there. And so while they sound decent, I'm not saying they don't, they sound good. They really and truly do. Like I say, the CD, there's a few songs on there that I actually like the presentation on it better than the original 1972 pressing. However, in a final analysis, it's not even really close. It's very immediate when you hear the differences between the Analogue Productions and the original pressing. Very, very quick and very obvious. Obvious nod goes to the Analogue Productions Atlantic 75 release. Okay, in comparing the one step to the Analogue Productions, we're going to start and use the same song, Heart of the Sunrise. And as I went through this song, and then of course the other songs, I listened to the entire album on all of these, as well as this one. So I'm just picking some songs. I don't want to take all the time in the world to talk about each individual song. But Heart of the Sunrise, which is probably my new favorite song on the album. On the Mobile Fidelity one step, it initially sounds good. No top end has been cut. On the one step, it sounds actually pretty good as far as the high end is concerned. What really is the difference is the bottom end on the Mobile Fidelity one step is just really too strong. I mean, you know what? And if you have a sound system that might be a little thin in the bottom end, some people might prefer that version of the album because that bottom end is really extended. To me, and through my system and through my ears, it sounds really quite unnatural. It just, on the Analogue Productions, there's just a better balance top to bottom. Bottom end on the one step, this is my notes that I'm reading, is just way more heavy. It just doesn't sound truly balanced as this does. It's just really too heavy for me. And that's really kind of really the entire content of the album on the one step, it doesn't sound terrible. I'm not saying that. It does sound better to a degree in the top end than the original pressing. But to be honest with you, that bottom end is just too embellished, too exaggerated is probably the right word. It's just too heavy. At least it is for me. And with my new speakers, I really, and I really probably never noticed this quite to the degree that I notice it now, because the Watt Puppies really dig deep into the bottom end. They have a very strong bottom end, I think reaching down to around 26 hertz, which I've never had a set of speakers that did that. And so it just doesn't sound, to me, and in my room, natural. It's just too heavy on that bottom end. The rest of it, you know, the top end, mid-range, and so forth, sounds pretty good. It's just not balanced. Bottom end is, for my liking, is just way too heavy. You know, in conclusion, and I'll just wrap this up. I mean, if I have to rank these albums, I think coming in third place would be the One Step. And the reason I say that is because I believe it's just not natural sounding. And then second place, it would be the original 1972 pressing, along with the compact disc. And there's just no getting around it. The Analogue Productions version of the album is simply stunning, balanced perfectly from top to bottom. It just sounds what I would call natural. It's just really, really not really much of a comparison. For $60, it's readily available. This is by far, at least from the ones that I've got, far and away the best pressing of Yes, Fragile. I'm not sure if it's the best pressing ever. I don't know. I don't have all of the different pressings, obviously, but I would be surprised if there's a pressing out there that can best this. I really would. And for your $60, personally, if you're a vinyl lover, true analog, faithful to the, all analog master tape, remastering, nothing but straight analog, this is really the way to go. I'm excited to listen to the SACD when that gets released. We'll talk about that when that happens. But really and truthfully, I think Analogue Productions has done a fantastic job with the Atlantic 75 series that they are doing. This is yet another example of just absolute wonderful, wonderful work, taking original master tapes from albums, and in this case back in 1971 when it was really originally recorded, and bringing them back to life in a way that I just didn't think would be really possible. We're really being treated, in my opinion, to some of the greatest rock and roll, some of the greatest music ever produced from these early years of rock and roll, and they are bringing them back, regenerating them, remastering them, repressing them, and they sound absolutely better than ever. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, once again, please go ahead and subscribe. Please leave comments in the comment section below. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching today. Have a great day.